Move out of the way! People like you don't belong here! The words cut through the air, sharp and cruel. A woman sneered down at a black woman in a wheelchair, her voice loud enough for everyone in the crowded hall to hear. Some turned away. Others stared. No one stepped in. To her, this woman seemed powerless beneath notice. But in just minutes, the room would fall silent, because the person she mocked wasn't who she thought. Tell us in comments, what would you have done? Before we begin, hit subscribe. It's appreciated. It was a bright morning at the grand courthouse, the kind of place where the echo of footsteps carried like whispers of judgment. Maya rolled through the heavy doors with quiet confidence, her wheelchair gliding smoothly across the marble floor. She was used to the stares, the subtle glances that followed her every move. Years of strength and study had brought her here. Yet most people only saw the chair. Outside the courtroom, attorneys hurried past with files tucked under their arms, their conversations sharp and hurried. Maya adjusted her blazer and checked the time, calm despite the bustle around her. To them, she was just another face in the crowd, someone waiting for a routine hearing. But this day was anything but routine. Her mind flickered to the years of late nights, the endless preparation that had shaped her into someone who could stand, metaphorically, among the best. She had fought through barriers that had nothing to do with wheels, doubt, prejudice, and the quiet, constant question of whether she belonged. Across the hall, a woman in a crisp white jacket lingered near the entrance. Her eyes narrowed when they landed on Maya. A slight smirk formed as she whispered something to the person beside her. Maya noticed, but stayed composed, her focus fixed on the case ahead. As the minutes ticked by, the tension in the room felt heavier, like the air before a storm. Maya sensed that something was about to unfold, something that would challenge not only her patience, but the very ideals of justice she had worked to uphold. What would you do if someone underestimated you before even knowing who you were? The double doors creaked as the courtroom began to fill, sunlight spilling across polished benches, and the quiet hum of conversations rising like distant thunder. Maya wheeled herself to the side aisle, her movements calm and deliberate. She felt the weight of eyes on her, some curious, some dismissive, the way people look when they've already decided a story before it's told. From the back of the room came a sharp voice, cutting through the low chatter. "You're blocking the way. People like you shouldn't be in here unless it's for a hearing of your own." The woman in the white jacket strode forward, her words meant to sting. Her name, whispered by those nearby, was Karen, known for loud opinions and louder judgments. Heads turned. A few gasps. A security guard shifted uneasily but said nothing. Karen kept walking, her heels striking the floor like a gavel. "Courts for people who matter," she said under her breath, but loud enough to carry. Maya kept her gaze steady, a quiet strength radiating from her stillness. She'd heard words like these before, on sidewalks, in restaurants, in places where people thought they could get away with it. But here, in this place of supposed justice, the sting cut deeper. The clerk at the front called for order. Papers rustled. Yet the tension stayed, thick and unspoken. Karen moved to the front row, tossing a glance back as if to remind Maya of her place. Inside, Maya's thoughts tightened. Years of law school, the sleepless nights studying case after case, every challenge she had fought through, it all pressed at the edges of her composure. She could speak now, but she knew silence was its own weapon. The judge's chair remained empty, a silent promise of authority to come. The crowd shifted, waiting. A faint murmur spread when the bailiff announced the start of proceedings. Karen folded her arms, confident that she'd made her point. But what she and everyone else didn't know was that the real shock was seconds away. The person she had belittled wasn't here to watch, she was here to lead. And when the moment came, the entire room would see who truly held the power. "Would you have spoken up before the truth was revealed?" The bailiff's voice rang out. "All rise!" Every seat scraped against the floor as the room obeyed. Karen straightened, eager to watch authority walk in. Her chin tilted high, a faint smirk still on her lips. From a side door, a figure emerged, not the older man Karen expected, but someone whose presence commanded silence. The black robe flowed, the gavel gleamed, and when the judge's face lifted to the light, the air snapped into a stunned hush. It was Maya. For a heartbeat, the room didn't breathe. Karen's smirk collapsed, confusion flashing into panic. The very woman she had mocked now stood tall, steady, and in full control of the court. The wheelchair was gone. Maya moved with quiet power, her robe sweeping the floor like a storm cloud. Karen stumbled back, words caught in her throat. Her earlier insults echoed in the minds of everyone who had heard them. There was no place to hide. The marble walls seemed to amplify the weight of her shame. Maya's gaze swept across the room, calm but unyielding. She didn't need to raise her voice. The silence spoke for her. Years of hard work, every barrier she'd faced, every dismissal, this moment burned them all away. The clerk read the case number, the official start of proceedings, but the true judgment had already begun. Karen lowered her eyes, her confidence shattered. Every person in that courtroom had witnessed the reversal. The underestimated woman now held every ounce of authority. The gavel struck once, a sound like thunder. What do you think happens next? Does Maya address the insult or let Karen drown in her own silence? The gavel's echo faded, but the weight of the moment stayed thick in the air. Maya didn't glance at Karen. She didn't need to. Authority radiated from her every movement as she began the proceedings. Her voice clear and steady, every word wrapped in quiet power. Karen sat stiff in the front row, eyes fixed on the floor. The memory of her own cruel words burned like a brand. Each sentence Maya spoke about justice and dignity seemed to land with deliberate precision. Though not a single one was aimed directly at her, Maya focused on the case before her, the work she had trained for, the very reason she was here. But beneath the calm, there was a silent message that filled the courtroom. Respect cannot be demanded with arrogance. It is earned through humanity, no public scolding, no dramatic revenge, just a masterclass in grace. By the time the session ended, the crowd understood who truly held strength. Not the loudest voice, not the one with the cruelest words, but the person who refused to be defined by them. As people filed out, whispers followed Maya's name like a rising tide. Karen remained seated, her earlier confidence dissolved into quiet humiliation. She had come to flaunt her power. She left with a lesson that would echo far beyond these marble walls, because this wasn't just about a single insult. It was about every moment when someone is judged by skin, by ability, by assumptions too small to hold the truth. How many times will the world underestimate before it finally learns to see? Show some love with a like and subscribe to stay inspired.